Hello everyone. This is the 24th part of the story, Blade God of Blood, Chapter 47 War Abomination. The next day, news all over the United States and even the whole world were reporting what happened in Harlem. All kinds of live pictures and videos were spreading all over the internet. The audience was shocked when they saw the commercial street that was almost in ruins. What happened? A war? In the news, there are photos of Abomination, and it is also explained in detail that Abomination was created by the military, and General Ross's words are constantly broadcasted, and the audience was angry. The military created such a terrifying monster behind everyone's back. It also ruined a street. Can this be endured? There is no doubt that a large-scale protest is about to break out, and General Ross and the military will become the target of public criticism. In addition to monsters and the military, there is one thing that attracts everyone's attention this time, and that is the new battle armor with Oscorp's dragon logo. Countless people are discussing whether Oscorp has created a war for this. This incident was confirmed in Trish Talk, where Trish explained the ins and outs of the hateful incident in detail, which shocked the audience and at the same time became angrier and angrier with General Ross. The whole thing was done by General Ross. What's more, when he was chasing Hulk at Culver University, he didn't clear the scene in advance. This made more people decide to go to the White House to protest, including Culver University teachers and students. Then, Oscorp held a press conference to officially release the Heroes series of armors, and also released some photos of the heroes and armors defeating the Abomination. I don't know if it was an operation error. These photos were mixed with some photos where Iron Man being punched by Abomination. These photos made the internet boil, and countless people were arguing about whether the hero's armor was stronger or Mark's armor was stronger. Although there were many Iron Man fans, they couldn't stand someone with advanced experience. Let's not talk about these. For the time being, the release of the hero's armor has made the stock price of Oscorp skyrocket, and countless people have come to inquire about the armor. Bert's net worth has skyrocketed by tens of billions in an instant, and this is just the beginning. Oscorp, Bert personally took Senator Stern and General Slocum, and others to visit the battle armor manufacturing base, and also let Frank put on the battle armor to demonstrate the various functions for them. Senator, General Slocum, I don't deny that my hero's armor is slightly worse than Iron Man's armor. Bert smiled and said, but it will be improved in the future. More importantly, my armors are available for sale, but his will never. The question is, isn't the price you want too expensive? General Slocum frowned and asked, $500 million, how many people can this be equipped with? A battle armor can fight against a battalion, and $500 million is definitely worth the money. Bert said, we must return enough funds so that we can continue to develop the armor and make it stronger. The current hero's armor is far from perfect. Both General Slocum and Senator Stern were very interested in this. Stern thought of one thing and asked, Bert, you are also using the arc reactor. There is no problem with the Stark Industries, right? No problem. I have reached a preliminary agreement with Tony. The reason why Ivan Vanko, the designer of the armor, is not here today is that he is having a meeting with Tony. Bert smiled and said, the armors are legal. You place an order now, and you can pick up the goods in 3 months. After a pause, Bert added, the NYPD and SHIELD are also very interested in the armors. If they place an order first, you will have to wait. SHIELD? General Slocum frowned. Don't need to care about the NYPD. They can't get $500 million, but SHIELD is a formidable opponent, he said solemnly. Mr. Wong, about other countries. Although SHIELD was born in the United States, it is now a worldwide organization, Bert said with a smile. Don't worry, Oscorp will never sell the armors to SHIELD unless it is approved by Congress. That's good. General Slocum nodded with satisfaction. Then, he asked, Mr. Wong, can we customize special battle armor? Of course, melee, long range, whatever function you want, we can provide it. Bert smiled and said, Oscorp will do its best to serve the military. The military is very pleased to have a patriotic enterprise like you. General Slocum said solemnly, and Frank next to him rolled his eyes secretly. Some time ago, who said that he would never do business with vampires? These guys don't want any face. Frank secretly sighed that he couldn't get promoted back then because he wasn't as thick-skinned as these guys. Everything is for the country. Bert smiled, and the two sides talked for a while. General Slocum left excitedly with a stack of documents. Senator Stern did not leave. In the office, he asked Bert, "Bert, the Hulk and the monster called Abomination by the media, are they all in your hands?" "Yes." Bert poured a glass of red wine for Senator Stern and said with a smile, "General Ross said a lot of bad things about me behind my back?" Senator Stern took a sip of red wine and said, "It's more than a bad word. He instigated the top military officials to eliminate vampires and snatch the battle armors. Of course, not many people pay attention to him. Whether it is the government or the military, they are willing to buy from the vampires. Very satisfied with the armor. Bert, you are much better than the guy who doesn't care about national security and only cares about himself. If it wasn't for you, I will make that guy hand over the battle armor." "Ha, that guy won't compromise easily." Bert smiled and said, "Senator, the vampire clan will continue to contribute to the country as always. As for that General Ross, he should think about how to protect himself first. Today, the gate of the White House is quite lively." "It's quite lively. The one in the White House is quite a headache. If such a big thing happens, the military will give an explanation to the people and the families of the soldiers. General Ross won't be able to trouble you for a few days." Senator Stern said, "However, Bert, I suggest that you still hand over the Hulk and the Abomination to the military. After all, it was researched by the military. Although the military is asking you now, it will not force it, but it's not good to make too much noise. About that, Senator, come with me. I'll show you something good." Bert took Senator Stern to the underground factory of the Oscorp, where the Abomination was being held in the middle by many brackets, and his head was opened, and the brain inside disappeared. "This is him? It's much more fierce than the video, but fortunately he's dead." Senator Stern was amazed and asked, "What are you doing with its head open?" "He's not dead," Bert said. "Before he died, I turned him into a vampire." "You turned it into a vampire?" Senator Stern was stunned. He asked, "Bert, what do you want to do?" "I want to make a super war machine." Bert motioned Lilith to hand over a tablet to Senator Stern and said, "We in Oscorp have a project called a bioelectronic brain, and I want to install one on the Abomination, and then we can control the Abomination to fight for us." Senator Stern looked at the information on the tablet and asked in surprise, "Bioelectronic brain? Has the technology of your Oscorp reached this stage?" "I haven't done it yet, so I'm going to turn Abomination into a vampire," Bert said. "The ability of the vampire can help the biological electronic brain control Abomination. It is not the ability of the vampire, but the ability of the blood god, the biological electronic brain plus the power of the blood god. The Abomination will become a war machine that completely obeys Bert's orders." Senator Stern asked, "When Abomination becomes a vampire, won't it be weakened? Vampires have many weaknesses." "There is already a solution for this. We are going to give him battle armor, which will not only protect his weakness but will also greatly increase his strength," Bert said. "In addition, it is good to have weaknesses. The military can install an ultraviolet bomb in his heart. If he loses control, the military can just press the button and let him die without leaving any scum." "That's a really good idea." Senator Stern's eyes lit up, and he smiled. "Bert, your vampire clan surprised us. I think it's time to give you an award this year." Bert smiled and said, "Then I can wait. The vampire will not disappoint the government and military. The country is very grateful for your support. By the way, how much is this war machine?" Senator Stern raised his head and looked at Abomination. His eyes were full of fire. For Hydra, such a war machine that completely obeys orders is very much needed. Bert said, Just Abomination, $500 million. If with a battle armor, then it will cost over $1 billion. I'm not joking. The battle armor used by Abomination will be more powerful than ordinary battle armor. Senator Stern was taken aback and said, Over $1 billion, Bert, your stuff is really expensive. Good things are naturally not cheap. Bert smiled and said, Besides, it's not expensive. An aircraft carrier costs at least tens of billions of dollars. But do you think it's easier to use an aircraft carrier, or is it easier to use War Abomination? It seems that War Abomination is more useful. Senator Stern was taken aback for a moment, and then nodded in agreement. If you say this, billion is indeed not high. What's more, it was American money that was spent, but they were the Hydras who received the goods. I'll go back and discuss with Congress. Senator Stern said, I will bring back Abomination's information. As for the Hulk, let him stay with you first, and I will see what the military thinks. Bert smiled and said, Okay, I'll trouble you, Senator. Senator Stern said with a smile, No trouble, everything is for the country. This old guy is greedy. Bert and Senator Stern shook hands, expressed their understanding, and then sent the senator away in person. This business was negotiated. You never imagine that the control of Abomination will always be in my hands. As for the ultraviolet bomb, there are many ways to solve it. Bert narrowed his eyes slightly. One Abomination is not enough. The military will definitely find a way to create more Abomination, and then I can easily get an army of Abomination. Using other people's money to cultivate an army for yourself is the common idea of Bert and Hydra. Shaking his head, Bert returned to the office. He poured 2 glasses of wine and said, You know what? If you sneak into my office like this, I have the right to shoot you. On the sofa, the one-eyed Nick Fury, wearing a trench coat as always, snorted coldly. He is a dignified spy chief. Does he still have to knock on the door to come in? It's a pity it's daytime, otherwise the effect will be better. After all, he comes with a dark stealth effect. The last time I went to Tony's house, it scared him a lot. Bert turned around, put a wine glass in front of Director Fury and said, Then what do you want from me? Give you a discount? Director Fury said immediately, Okay, as you said, 50% off. Bert sneered, You think so beautifully. Come on, what's the matter with you? You don't need to come here if you just want to buy the battle armor. Director Fury picked up the cup and said, I'm here for you, Bert Wong. What exactly do you want to do? Do you know that the vampire is only one step away from war? Bert sat down and asked in a relaxed manner, That's how you asked for money from above? The acquisition of the Oscorp by the vampire clan has already made some high-level humans dissatisfied, thinking that your vampire clan's hands are too long, but at that time the Oscorp was half-crippled, and you were actively reforming. They reluctantly accepted it. Director Fury said to himself, But now you have created a battle armor. This is the most high-tech individual weapon at present. Do you know what Washington, the military, and S.H.I.E.L.D. are all proposing? Destroy the vampire clan and snatch the battle armor? Bert sneered. Director Fury, you are really alarmist. Director Fury sneered. You think I'm lying? Do you want to put my proposals in front of you? What I said was that you exaggerated this to intimidate. Bert said, There are indeed people who propose to eliminate the vampire clan, such as General Ross, but they are only a few of the few, and they are all ignored. Most of the high-level executives are very willing to cooperate with the vampire clan. Director Fury looked disdainful. You only see this? This incident will indeed make the senior management more vigilant, but it is only vigilance. There are still 108,000 miles away from the war. Bert said, Don't say that there is no dissatisfaction at the top this time. Even if there is, they will only warn me first, or force me to hand over my battle armor technology, instead of rashly going to war. The vampire clan has survived until now, and it has never depended on human beings' mercy. Director Fury looked at Bert with one eye and asked, Bert, since you know that it will raise the vigilance of the top management, why do you still do such an outrageous thing? Bert was silent for a while and said, Director Fury, I will not explain what I want, but I'll tell you something, whether you believe it or not. It's your choice. Director Fury said. I'm listening. Bert said, There are many aliens in this universe. The reason why they have not invaded the Earth is not that the Earth is remote, but because the god King Odin is protecting us. Director Fury was stunned. God King Odin? Isn't that from Norse mythology? Isn't vampire also a myth? Bert said, The reason why Odin protects us is that our Earth is a vassal of Asgard. I know what you want to ask. God's domain has not come to manage us because the ancient master took it from Odin. Chapter 48 Dragon Fire. Sorcerer Supreme, Ancient One? Director Fury asked as if he knew a lot, but in fact, he found nothing. It's not that no one knows about Ancient One, but that people who do know are unwilling to tell S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, the Sorcerer Supreme, Ancient One, Bert said. Master Ancient One and God King Odin protect the Earth like two mountains. This is the reason why we have been able to survive in peace. The problem is that they are all old. Once they fall, we have to face each other. Not only aliens but also extraterrestrial demons. Director Fury frowned, and he asked, Even if what you said is true, they will have an heir, right? There is no news of the next generation of Sorcerer Supreme, Bert said. As for the heir of the god King Odin, if you see him, there will be a sentence in your mind. What? Asgard will die. Director Fury was speechless. He asked, Have you seen Odin's heir? I haven't seen him, but I have heard of his reputation. Bert said, Director Fury, maybe you won't believe it, but the reason why I do so much is to prevent human beings from being destroyed. I can tell you that in a few years aliens will invade. Director Fury was stunned. He hurriedly asked, Alien invasion? Where's the evidence? I said it, I won't explain. Bert said, Director Fury, you and I both know that aliens invaded the Earth long ago. Director Fury's pupils shrank slightly, and he said, Your vampire clan, you know a lot. Bert said lightly, The longer you live, the more you know naturally. Director Fury glanced at Bert, this young man he had never seen through. He thought about it, and said, I want 2 battle suits, but one of them, you can't tell others, and give me a discount. Bert asked, What can I get? The identities of Anton Vanko and Ivan Vanko will be completely legal. In addition, I will try my best to help you suppress the hostility of the top humans. Director Fury said, But only for 2 years. Within 2 years, if there is no alien invasion, I will come to you for an explanation. I don't need you to help me suppress hostility. The vampire race is not afraid of anyone. Bert didn't believe Director Fury's guarantee at all. This guy has a black heart. He said, 10% off, but with the permission of Congress, you need to do it yourself. Deal. Director Fury didn't bargain. A 10% discount on $1 billion business would mean savings of $100 million. In this way, he could build a lot of bases and safe houses. This world is too dangerous. Even the god King Odin can die. How can he rest assured if he doesn't build a base? S.H.I.E.L.D. is the real protection of human beings. After talking about the matter, Director Fury got up and left. Bert watched him walk into the elevator and sneered. I thought you would disappear silently? It's an alien after all. Bert muttered to himself. At this moment, the dragon's soul in his body suddenly became restless. He abruptly got up and looked at the southern pier. There was another dragon's soul. Danny Rand is back. Bert narrowed his eyes, and the power of the dragon's soul poured out from his entire body, forming a fiery red dragon behind him. Then, the dragon resonated with the power of the earth in Manhattan, and the ground in the southern dock area of Manhattan gradually began to faint. New York, I'm back! On the pier, Danny Rand, dressed in tatters and carrying a bag, looked at the city in front of him that he had been away from for 15 years. Although he was happy, he was more at a loss. Danny Rand is the son of a billionaire whose private jet crashed in the Himalayas 15 years ago. His parents died on the spot, and he was taken in by the Kunlun people and became a Kunlun disciple. For the next 15 years, Danny Rand stayed in Kunlun to practice painstakingly. A few months ago, he participated in the Iron Fist trial, defeated his opponent, and obtained the qualification to become the Iron Fist. Danny got the inheritance of the dragon's soul of Sholau and became Iron Fist. It stands to reason that after Danny became Iron Fist, he wanted to stay on the mountain to protect Kunlun, but because of the emptiness and confusion in his heart, he chose to escape Kunlun and return to New York. That's right, Danny took the most important thing from Kunlun and ran away. I wonder if those who chose him as Iron Fist would be pissed off. What's next? Does the Rand Corporation still exist? Danny Rand was thinking, and the dragon's soul in his body suddenly became restless. Then, his chi and the power of the dragon's soul all converged on his right hand, causing the right hand to light up with a faint golden light. Fortunately, he was in a remote place, and no one was there to see this. What happened? Danny was taken aback and wanted to stop the power of the dragon's soul, but found that the power of the dragon's soul did not attack him at all, and was still gathering towards his right hand. At this moment, Danny suddenly sensed a huge chi rising from the ground in front of him. He raised his head sharply and saw a gust of chi gushing out from the shaking earth, condensing into a majestic and domineering line in front of him. It is full of a fiery red dragon more than 10 meters high. This dragon, with chi as its body and dragon's soul as its soul, can only be seen by those who have cultivated and vented its chi. If you cannot see it, it does not mean that you cannot sense it. Everyone in the dock area feels that the surrounding air has become dignified. Dragon soul? New York has a dragon, and it's so powerful? Danny was stunned. If his chi is a pond, then the other party's chi is a small lake. There is absolutely no comparison. At this time, the fiery red dragon uttered a provocative dragon roar at Danny. The dragon soul in Danny was provoked and rushed towards Danny's right arm frantically, making Danny's right fist brighter and brighter. Some people may be wondering why the power of the dragon's soul only condenses on Danny's right arm. The reason is very simple. Danny can only use the power of the dragon's soul on his right arm, and in other places, the level has not been cleared. The massive amount of dragon soul power overwhelmed Danny. He kneeled on the ground, clutching his right arm in pain, feeling that his right arm was about to burst. Don't kneel, stand up and fight it! The dragon soul roared, but Danny didn't have the will to fight. The reason was very simple. He didn't know why he wanted to fight, and the opponent was so powerful. How could he be the opponent? Also, if there is more dragon soul power, his right hand will explode. The dragon soul roared unwillingly, but Danny not only did not obey but tried his best to control his chi. He couldn't control the power of the dragon soul, but the chi was fine. The fiery red dragon laughed disdainfully. That's all? The dragon soul chose to admit defeat, not because he couldn't compare to the dragon on the opposite side, but because his host was 10 streets worse than the other's host. The dragon's soul died down, and Danny was finally able to control the power of the dragon's soul. He hurriedly dissipated the golden light of his right fist and gasped on the ground. The fiery red dragon gave Danny a contemptuous look, and gradually dispersed, and the ground in the dock area quickly returned to normal. Danny Rand raised his head and stared blankly ahead. He felt that New York did not seem to welcome him that much. As same as the TV show, weak. In the office, Bert smiled disdainfully, and the real dragon phantom behind him turned into red light and flew back to his body. Bert sensed that the power of the dragon's soul had become a little different, and when his mind moved, a red light lit up on his hand. Then, the red light swelled and turned into a flaming crimson flame. Dragon fire! Bert laughed. He didn't expect the appearance of Danny Rand to awaken the dragon fire. Now, his strength has increased again. The dragon on Bert's body was originally a fire dragon. At this time, Carter brought Vanko and his son in from outside. She seemed very happy to see Bert, and asked in surprise, "Blood God, what's the matter?" "It's really fun," Bert put away the dragon fire. He turned around and found that Vanko and his son were angry, and asked with a smile, "Don't say you must have been pissed off by Tony. Did you beat him?" "Blood God!" Carter was speechless. She sighed. "If I wasn't there, the three of them would have fought. That guy doesn't look like Howard at all, rude, vicious, doesn't know how to respect elders." Anton Vanko scolded repeatedly. Ivan echoed by the side. Bert laughed dumbly, and he asked Carter, "Did they suffer?" Carter said, "Knowledge, he competed with Tony." The Vanko father and son did not argue, because they lost. One of them drank heavily for decades, and the other was imprisoned for more than 10 years. In terms of accumulating new knowledge, they couldn't compare to Tony at all. Ivan gritted his teeth and said to Bert, "Bert, I want to go to university to study cutting-edge science." "No problem, you spend 2 days a week going to MIT for further education. You can also use your computer to communicate with them." Bert smiled and said, "I will help you arrange everything. Several school directors at MIT are ours. By the way, should I get a diploma? I always feel that someone is studying for a degree. Despise me. Then trouble you, I'll go back to do research." After Ivan thanked him, he turned around and left immediately. After being provoked by Tony, he couldn't stay still, and Anton also left with him. He didn't believe that the two of them, together, would not be able to fight a damn Tony Stark. Russians' temper is irritable. Bert smiled and asked Carter, "How is the discussion with Tony?" "Pepper allows us to use the arc reactor on the suit, but not energy." Carter said, "The main business of Stark Industries is energy now, and they can't let it go." "Is that so?" Bert thought for a while and said, "I will find a time to talk to Pepper. Except for the United States, I can give her the market in other places, but in the United States, the competition should be fair." "You want more chips?" "I think Pepper will give in." Carter nodded and then said, "When I'm done with what I'm doing, I'll take a leave of absence to go to the North Pole, and come back when I find Steve." "Okay. However, you must first arrange the affairs of the Blood God group." Bert nodded and said, "This big ship can't be separated from your helm now. Now that technology is so advanced, I can also handle the group's affairs in the Arctic." Carter smiled and said, "Speaking of which, the situation of the vampire clan is good now. All aspects are developing very well, and the order is gradually stabilizing." "Well, the vampire clan has returned to stability now, and those who are unwilling to abide by the new order are either dead or left." Bert smiled and said, "However, the population registration is still far from satisfactory. Those who are willing to register now are basically due to subsidies. There's no way, if it sounds good, it is advocating freedom, and if it sounds bad, it's sloppy." Carter said, "If you want them to register, in addition to the tens of billions of subsidies, you have to think of other ways. Take your time, you can't get fat in one bite. Maybe you can try to pull the head, that is, pull a vampire clan to register. How much is the reward? In any case, the registration must be completed, and only comprehensive registration can protect the common interests of humans and vampires. In addition, the registration information is fully encrypted, and only you, me, Mercury, and Blade are eligible to view it. Also, the subsidy is issued by our bank." Bert and Carter talked for a while. Carter got up and said goodbye. "This is the Oscorp. That woman, Mercury, will not welcome her to stay for too long." If it weren't for the special relationship between Carter and Anton and Tony, this time, she should not have come forward. The future of the vampire clan still depends on technological progress. Bert sighed secretly. At the same time, in Stark Industries, Tony officially handed over the position of president to Pepper. Pepper said at a loss, "You're serious? Just hand over the position of the president to me like this? When the news spreads, Stark Industries' stock price will drop tomorrow. With your ability, this is just a small problem." Tony said, "Pepper, I'm running out of time. Vanko and his son are aggressive. I must focus all my energy on scientific research, otherwise, I will be defeated by them sooner or later." Pepper is puzzled. Are the two fathers and sons that strong? Didn't you win before? I won because they have shortcomings, but they can make up for this shortcoming, Tony said. Their wisdom is not much worse than mine. Besides, there is a bastard behind them. I don't want to be pressed by him for the rest of my life. Pepper sighed. She knew that Tony, who was arrogant, could not tolerate someone riding him all the time, even if that person had a lot of kindness towards him. Because he's Tony Stark. I will help you manage the Stark Industries, Little Pepper said domineeringly. You go to research. In the future, I will make money for you to spend. Tony blinked, always feeling that something was wrong. Oscorp, in a room, Betty was taking care of the awakened Banner. Banner asked, Betty, who is the man who killed the abomination? So powerful, I feel that the Hulk is a little afraid of him. Betty said, He's super rich, richer than Iron Man, but some people say he's a vampire. Banner was stunned. Vampires? This is unscientific. Your Hulk is also unscientific. A voice came from outside, and then Bert walked in with Dr. Stern. Betty and Banner hurriedly stood up to say hello. Bert said with a smile, You're welcome, Miss Betty. Dr. Banner, introduce myself. I'm Wong Bert, the patriarch of the vampire clan. Are there vampires? Banner couldn't help but ask. Why do vampires have to drink blood? Do you spread it by viruses? And why does this scene feel familiar? Bert blinked. Compared to Gwen, Banner is the real scholar. He has 7 doctorates. It's a pity that fate makes people. Such a scholar became a monster who only knows how to use brute force. This marks the end of part 24 of the story, Blade God of Blood. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.